Ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about winter mountaineering in Himalaya. We usually think that there is nothing going on in Himalaya in winter season, but that's not always the case. I understand it is dangerous, it's too cold to climb mountain, but there are some brave people who dare to climb big peaks in the Himalaya in winter season, and we're going to talk about them in this video. The first expedition we are going to talk about is the Makalu expedition. So Makalu is the 8,000 peak, is the fifth highest mountain that stands somewhere around 8,400, and it has been summited only once in the winter season, and that by legendary Denis Urbuko and Simeone Moro. This time a Nepali tour operator, Makalu Adventure, attempted to climb Makalu in winter season. And they have attempted this mountain in winter season in 2022. They had no luck, but this time they got some success, but unfortunately it ended in tragedy. Let's talk about the team member of this expedition. This team was led by the experienced Sanu Sherpa, who has climbed 8,000 peak almost 40 times, and he has completed 14 8,000 two times. That's really incredible. And he was supported by his brother Furba Sherpa. Furba Sherpa is also experienced. He climbed Mount Everest at least 19 times. Then there are 4 other strong Sherpa, including the Lakpa Sherpa, who will play an important role in this story. This team includes 2 clients. One was Abul Fazl Ghazali. It was his second attempt on winter Makalu. If you look at his experience, he is not really much experience in Himalaya. He has only climbed one mountain, Manasulu, in the spring season. Besides, he has climbed Lenin Peak at least 5 times. That's all we know about his experience. The second client in this expedition is Piali Basak. You may know her from 2023 rescue operation, the miraculous rescue operation, where she was attempting to climb Makalu, the same mountain, without supplementary oxygen. She was able to reach the summit, but on descent she was too weak and her Sherpa abandoned her and thought she was dead. But 3 days later she was rescued near the death zone. That was really incredible rescue. But she is not an inexperienced climber. She has already climbed 5 8,000 peak in the spring season and 1 Dholagiri without supplementary oxygen. On 6th of January, the team arrived at the base camp that is located at an altitude of 4,900 meters. From there, they moved to advanced base camp somewhere around 5,500 or 5,600 meters. This advanced base camp is called Camp 1 by some other teams. Then they established the camp 2 at an altitude of 6,700 meters. Within a week of arriving at the base camp, the team was at Camp 3. The Camp 3 usually located at an altitude of 7,500 meters. Camp 3 is also known as Makalu La, that divides Makalu from Makalu 2, and you can also enter into the Chinese territory from this mountain pass. They reached the Camp 3. They had planned to do one more rotation to Camp 2 and then come back again. They were there for stocking some supplies, but something happened. They received the forecast from the Kathmandu that weather is not going to be well, wind will be really high, summit push will be unfavorable in upcoming days. So they had to make decision. The Sanu Sherpa, who was the leader of the expedition, decides to go for summit push right from Camp 3 just after 1 week of arriving at the base camp. Now they had the fixed ropes till the Camp 3. From Camp 3 and beyond there were no fixed ropes, and they were supposed to set up one more camp, that is Camp 4, somewhere around 7,500 or 7,600, but they didn't. Right now they had to move in alpine style. It's not purely alpine style, but not truly a commercial expedition too. The summit party includes 4 members, the leaders Sanu Sherpa, Furba Sherpa, Lakpa Sherpa and Abul Fazl Ghazali. The Indian climber Piali Basak felt ill and she had to descend back to the Camp 3. Before going on a summit push, Sanu Sherpa asked Furba Sherpa to stay in the Camp 3 and prepare some water. But Furba Sherpa wanted to be part of the summit team. On 15 January 2026, all 4 members reached the summit of Mount Makalu. This is the second time in the history when anybody was standing on the summit of Makalu in winter season. That was really an incredible achievement, but that achievement didn't last long. We know most tragedy happens during the descent, and this was not an exceptional case. With that being said, they all started descending. Ghazali was accompanied by the leader Sanu Sherpa, while Lakpa Sherpa and Furba Sherpa were descending together.
Purba Sherpa felt the need of rest and wanted to sleep as soon as possible. But Lakpa Sherpa encouraged him to continue descending as quickly as possible. At this point, they were descending without fixed ropes, which had only been fixed up to Camp 3. As they were approaching Camp 4, they were still in conversation with each other. Suddenly, Lakpa Sherpa stopped hearing any response from Purba Sherpa. He then realized that Purba Sherpa had fallen from the slopes. Lakpa Sherpa cried out in distress. The leader Shanu Sherpa was alarmed and shocked by the incident. He asked his client Abul Fazl Ghazali to stay where he was while they searched for Purba Sherpa. But Abul Fazl Ghazali insisted on descending to Camp 3 on his own. Purba Sherpa had slid almost 700 meters down the slope, which they described as the relatively easy slope. They later located Purba's body at around 7,500 meters. By this time, there was no doubt that the tragic fall had taken his life. They wanted to bring his body back to the base camp, but they were unable to do so and decided to return with more support. They then began descending toward Camp 3. At Camp 3, they were expecting to find Iranian climber Abul Fazl Ghazali, but to their surprise, there was no sign of Ghazali at Camp 3 or in the surrounding area. They descended further down to Camp 2, but he was not there either. Sanu Sherpa contacted the team at the base camp, but they had no information as well. Search operations were carried out in the following days, but there was still no sign of Abul Fazl Ghazali. The speculation was that he may have become lost or fallen into the crevasse, which made search and rescue even more difficult.
Soon after this tragedy, there were another team arrived at the base camp of Makalu. The local team, Altipro, a tour operator made of really strong Sherpa, they attempted to climb Mount Makalu in winter season, and they also took participation in the search and rescue. The team successfully made it to the Camp 3. They also took part in the search of Purba Sherpa and Abul Fazl Ghazali, but they had no luck. At the end, they had to descend back because of the poor weather condition and called off their expedition.
While search operation has been halted until next season, the survivor Lakpa Rinji Sherpa suffered severe frostbite on 8 fingers.
Another expedition in the winter Himalaya, the Manassulu expedition, was led by the legendary Simeone Moro. Now, Simeone Moro need no introduction. Nobody has climbed as many mountains in the winter than the Simeone Moro. He has climbed 8,000 in winter in pure alpine style. He was accompanied by the Nimma Rinji Sherpa, really young, talented. Nimma Rinji Sherpa has climbed all 8,000 just at an age of 18.
This was not their first attempt on Mount Manassulu. During a winter attempt the previous season, the team encountered heavy snowfall and unfavorable weather conditions, forcing them to abandon the climb.
Before arriving at the base camp of Manassulu, Simeone Moro decided to acclimatize on the Meru Peak. Now, Meru Peak is about 6,450 and it is a really good one for acclimatization. So his plan was to climb Mount Meru at least 2 times and spend at least 1 night at the summit of Mount Meru. When they were on their acclimatization trip, the Oswald Pereira, another climber from their previous expedition, also joined their team and he took participation in the summit push toward the Mount Meru.
They reached the summit of Mira Peak, and while descending toward Khari village, which also served as the base camp of Mira Peak, at around 5,000 meters, Simeone Moro began experiencing severe pain in his chest and left arm. The condition later developed into cardiac emergency, after which Simeone Moro was evacuated to hospital in Kathmandu.
With the evacuation of Simeone Moro to the Kathmandu hospital, the expedition was abandoned even before it started. And now they will attempt this mountain again in 2026. Winter, Jos Kabul didn't plan to climb Mount Everest. He was attempting to climb Mount Everest through highly difficult west ridge. He was doing it alone, and last year he reached the remarkable altitude of 7,500 meters on the west ridge of the Mount Everest. Next year he is expected to continue his solo attempt on the highly difficult west ridge, and we will see how the story build up in the next season. That's all for this video. Thank you very much.